Alright, so welcome to this lesson of Google Sheets Basics, and where we're going to learn how to use Google Sheets. So the purpose of it is of Excel or Sheets is to analyze mass data, perform rapid calculations, create graphs, and have the data in a safe place. The goal of this homework is to familiarize you with Google Sheets so that it will be easier to use for experiments. This is a step-by-step walkthrough on how to use it, so hopefully you don't get lost. And if you can ask me questions afterwards. But the goal here is to um, learn how to use this right here, what's in front of us. You're going to be able to find it by this web address. I'm going to share it with y'all, whether it be in our Facebook group message, or maybe I'll send it to y'all's emails if that's what we're going to use instead for this class. So it'll be this link. First thing to notice on this is that we have all our names down here. All the students in here should have one, and if there's somebody else in this class that I don't know about, I'll add them in later. So first we're going to go over a little terminology. Up here I've selected column. A column A is the first column, then there's column B. Columns go from top to bottom, and then rows, which starts with number 1, is from left to right. So we have columns and rows, so just be careful with that. When I say column, I'm talking about the letters, and when I say row, I'm talking about the numbers there. So let's act like we collected some data. So let's say that I wanted to figure out if there was any correlation with age and height. So I went and collected the ages of a bunch of people, right? So I'm going to put that down as my label on the top of this column here. And so age, let's say it's in years. That's my units there, and we always want to write our units up in the label there, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. So if age is correlated to height, right? So height is my dependent variable. So height will measure, let's say, in feet. So I'm just going to abbreviate it FT there inside of parentheses, and I like my units to be inside of parentheses. It just makes it a little bit tidier, and it knows exactly where I put it. So let's say that I collected data and I found a 35-year-old who is 5.5 feet. Then I found a 20-year-old who's 5.7 feet. Then I found a 5-year-old who is 3 feet. And then I found a 1-year-old who was 1 foot. And then I found 8-year-old who was 7 feet. You just type the numbers in, you press enter after you have each one of these. You can hit enter and it'll go down. So when I hit enter, it'll go down there. If you want to go to the next row in there, you would hit tab instead. So then I found a 15-year-old, so I hit tab, I go over to the next row, and this one was a giant, let's say it's 7.5. Now I'm going to hit enter, and that took me down to the next one there, not the one directly above it, because it knows now that I'm entering it in a certain pattern, so it knows how to follow me. And then last but not least, a 7-year-old who was a midget, so then it was 2, maybe 1.5, change it there. Oops, I put 2 periods in there, 1.5 feet tall. And you can just go up above it. You don't have to click enter or anything to change the data. So like I made a mistake there, so I just went back up and put in 1.5, and it automatically erases the data in there that I had. If you ever make a mistake in Google Sheets, you can do undo and it'll go back. So there's my mistake again, and then I was like, oh, I didn't make a mistake, so you can go back forward there. So that's that tool there. One thing I do want to show you is, well, no, we'll just continue with this. Okay, so now I have all this in here. I have the age and height. Okay, let's look at some stuff that we can do here. Let's make this look nice and add a border. So what's a border? It's just going to make it darker on the sides. So I'm going to select all this, right? So I hold the mouse down, drag over this. Then I go to here, it says borders, and I'm going to put a border around everything. There's different types of borders you can use, limited amounts. And now all this is inside of boxes, right? It makes it look a little bit tighter. So that's what a border is. Next thing, the biggest thing that I want you to come away with is functions. A function is simply an equal sign, okay? A function means that it's going to perform a calculation. So let's say I wanted to add up all the ages right here, right? I want to find the total age of everyone in there. So it would be 35 plus 20 plus 5, blah, 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 all the way down, right? So if I just added sum of this data, and you're not understanding what I'm doing probably, but you'll find out here in a minute, A1 through if I just add sum, let's just say, if I put that in there, it's not going to give me anything back. We have to use a function. The function is the equal sign, right? Google Sheets has gotten so smart nowadays that it's entered it in exactly what I want without me having to think about it. But let's go step by step here. So that's the equal sign. So now we put sum for the summation of all the data, right? We put open parentheses. Now there's a few ways you can do this. You can just highlight. So this is left click and hold, right? And drag it over that. That's how to grab all that. And that'll give you A2, which is this cell right here, right? This is the column is A and the row is 2. So that's A2. And then the colon means that it's through. And so it's A2 through A8. That's what that means there. So next we want to add a closed parentheses, and that'll give you the sum of all that. So the sum of all my ages is 91. And then let's say that we want to find the sum of the height. So we're going to do the same thing here. Equal sign for our function, sum. Just type that in there. And then parentheses. And so I'm just going to type it in this time. It doesn't have to be capital letters like it is up there. B2, right? That's my first height through B8. And then close parentheses, enter. You have to have enter in there. So those are my the total of my heights. Now I want to add a label in here. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to insert another column. So I'm going to go up to A, left click on it, then right click on it, insert one left. So now I have another column here. None of my data has changed. My answers haven't changed at all. So this is the sum of it, right? So this is the total of ages and height, right? So you can just look at it there and then there. Now I want to find the average. So I'm going to label it over here the average. So my average age would be calculated as follows. Equals for function, right? It already knows exactly what I want there, but we're just going to go ahead and type it out. When you do these, you have to type in the full thing. Some, like Excel, it uses abbreviations, but this one I don't think it does. So we're just going to type that in. Now the only thing that has changed is that now it's in column B. So if I typed in column or A2, it's going to try to find the average of these over here, which is not what we're looking for. So B2 colon through B8, and we have data and 9, but that's the summation, so we don't want to grab that. So my average age is 13. So that's that one. So instead of typing in the average height over here with my function, right, and what I'm going to do is drag this little box. You see that little box right there? We're going to drag it to the right. So hold it and hold it down, and then it highlights this cell right here, and it's going to automatically find my average height. So as you can see up here, this is a little summary of what the function is right there, right? FX stands for function. Yeah, everyone loves algebra. So we have that there, and we have the average of the heights. We can see that it's heights because it's the C. It just copied this function and recognized that even though it's different cells, it's going to carry over there. So we've got that right there. Next, we're going to... So one of the last things we wanted to do, and I said that we were trying to find if there's a correlation between age and height, right? So what we want to do there is create a graph. Oops, before we do that, I see something here. Look at all, this gives me a big long decimal number, right? Because it's an average, so it's finding it exactly. I want to chop that back a little bit. So we're going to decrease the decimal places, which means that the numbers go down, right? It's not as precise and accurate. But the nice thing is that it does rounding for you. So we've got that. And if we want more, we can just go the opposite direction there. So there we go. We cut it back down to 2 decimal places. So that's how you do that. That's not going to help us find the correlation, but I wanted to show you how to do the total or the summation of the numbers and the average. And we'll be doing that time and time again when we use Google Sheets. So to find the correlation here, we're going to select our data, right? We're not going to grab the total average. Actually, let's go ahead and grab the labels, because if we grab the labels, then it's going to automatically add it into our graph. So we've got that. Let's see, graph in this. I forget where the graph one is. Oh, insert a chart. So our insert chart, just click on that. And this is not the chart I want to be looking at. This is definitely a chart, but I wanted a graph, right? So we want to look at a scatter plot. Yeah, that's what I want. Scatter plot here. So look, we have, well, that's not what I want either, because it's graphing them separately. Okay, I found what I'm looking for here. So we have to scroll down over here on the setup, and we have to aggregate column B, and we've changed it up nowadays. So if we aggregate it, then we look at this first data point over here. So the age is 35, so we can look over here at 35. And we see that the height is 5.5, right? That's where that little dot is. That's that data point right there. So all our data points are in there. And so what I was looking for by seeing if there was a correlation means, was there a line? So here we don't really see a good line that would fit through these data points. Maybe we could throw a line here like that right there. But if we did that, then we're neglecting these 3 data points. So there's not very good correlation between age and height because there's other factors and stuff. And we'll get into more making graphs later. I just wanted to give you a little introduction to it right now. So that's pretty much the stuff that we have right now for this little Google Sheets editorial. I definitely encourage you guys to play around with it. There's a lot of features on here, very useful features for analyzing data. There's different ways to do what I said to do, so you can find a way that you enjoy better doing data calculations and stuff. But so a few things that I forgot to mention, I'm just going to go over. When you're entering your data, never ever put in 35 years. The problem with that is that now it doesn't think that this is just a data. It thinks it's more like a sentence or a paragraph, so it's not going to enter it into the calculation. You see how my average changed when I typed in years? That's why we put the units up in the top there, the years. That way we know all these are in years, and we don't have to write it into each little cell there. That's a very important thing to remember. Another thing that we're going to be doing is writing our experimental data in here. So whenever we have a experiment, you're going to put it under your name, right? So let's say Andrew did experiment 1. This is experiment 1, right? So he's going to write experiment 1 on the top there, and then he's going to put his labels up here. So there was, what was it? Age, years, and then there's the height and the other one. He's going to put that in there. This is experiment 1. So once he gets finished with this experiment, he's going to just leave it there, and I'll check it and everything to make sure y'all actually did it. Then experiment 2 will be down here. Just leave some space in between experiment 1 and 2, and then just do experiment 2 there. That way it's all in one place. I don't have to go search 20 million different Google Sheets. So that's basically it for today. I hope you learned something, and welcome to the world of Google Sheets.